Mysteries!
Hello and welcome to a brand new More on Math Minecraft Mysteries. I'm Mr. Moore and I'm still playing in the dirt in my garden. You can see my flower gardens behind me. I have 2 flower plots behind me. Let's take a look. So in this flower plot I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the 6 spaces are planted with flowers. So 5/6 of this flower plot is planted. Over here, look, I have 2 rows. 1, 2 out of 3 possible rows. So 2 out of 3 rows means 2/3 of this flower plot is planted. So what I want to know is how much more of this flower plot is planted than this flower plot. It's a mystery. In fact, it's today's Minecraft mystery. And whenever we have a mystery, we have to go quick to the math cave. Warp speed! The math cave! Ah, splash! Our Minecraft mystery of the day is, I have 2 flower plots. 5/6 of the first flower plot is planted. 2/3 of the second flower plot is also planted. How much more of the first flower plot is planted? Pause the video, solve the problem, and come on back when you think you have a solution. Welcome back. So let's see, I still have 2 flower plots. One of them is planted 5/6 of the way. The other one's planted only 2/3 of the way. And I want to know how much more the first flower plot has been planted. That's tough. And when math gets tough, we go to the magical whiteboard. Push to activate. Pow! Woo! Let's make a list of what we know. 5/6 of my first plot is planted with flowers, while just 2/3 of my second plot is planted with flowers, and I want to know how much more of that first plot is actually planted with flowers. And as I've done with every single fraction problem we've done so far, I'm going to use a picture to figure out what's going on. So here's my first garden showing 5 out of 6 parts planted. That's the shaded part. And here's my second garden showing 2 out of 3 rows planted. And so 2/3 of it is planted. That's my shaded part. And I want to know how much more of this garden has been planted than this one. So whenever I want to know how much more, we are talking about a subtraction problem. And so let's next set up our numerical expression, which, remember, numerical expression is just a fancy word for math problem. And so our math problem is going to be 5/6 minus 2/3. And as always, I am going to try to estimate this, keeping in mind that estimating with small numbers is a bit difficult, but I'll give it a shot. Let's go. 5/6 is really close to 1 whole, and 2/3 is just a little bit more than 1/2. And 1 whole minus 1/2 we know is 1/2. So I know my real answer should be close to my estimate of 1/2. In this episode, I am again going to use the standard algorithm and the picture to solve this problem. I'm going to start with the standard algorithm. In order to subtract 2/3 from 5/6, I first need to find a common denominator, a common type of piece that I can use to rewrite both of these fractions as equivalent fractions. To do that, I find multiples of both my denominators. I skip count by 3 and 6 until I find a match, and as always, I start with the smallest one because I might figure out that I have the other one in my list. My first 5 multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. And notice that 6 is on my list. And the first multiple of 6 will be 6. So I can just stop here because I already have a match. And I know what my common denominator will be. It will be 6. So I can rewrite my problem using 6. And so I have some amount of 6 minus some amount of 6. Well, 5/6 is already in 6, so I can just put the 5 over here because it's still 5/6. Now I have to figure out what is an equivalent fraction to 2/3. And to do that, I figure out how do I get from a 3 to a 6 using multiplication or division. Well, 3 times 2 is 6, So whatever I do to my denominator, I also have to do to my numerator. And since 2 times 2 is 4, 4/6 is an equivalent fraction to 2/3. They mean the same thing, they just have different names. Now it's super easy to subtract. 5/6 minus 4/6 is 1/6. Remember, we don't subtract the denominators because the denominators are kind of just like labels. You know, it's like 5 apples minus 4 apples would be 1 apple. Let's try the picture. With my picture, I want to remove this much stuff from this garden so I can see how much more of this garden or this plot was planted. But these aren't the same size pieces as these pieces. And so I need to change them. And there's a really easy change. You see this line going up and down, splitting this flower plot into 2 halves? I'm going to make the same line in this flower plot. And now I can see, oh, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 in this flower plot. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in this flower plot. So now I can start eliminating things by taking 4, 6 out of this flower plot. Since I have 4, 6, and I want to figure out how much more this one has, I have to remove those same 4, 6 from this flower plot. I can choose any ones I want to. And so when I do, I notice I only have 1 piece left, 1 out of 6 possible pieces in this flower plot. So my answer is, again, 1/6. Now, is 1/6 reasonable? Well, it's kind of tough to say. I mean, 1/6 is closer to 0 than it is to 1/2, but it's still pretty close to 1/2. So I'm going to say, hey, it's close enough for me. I think it's reasonable, so I'm going to give myself a check. But remember, the question is, how many what? How many more plant plots? So how much more of that first plot was planted? So my answer needs to have a correct label, and so my final answer will be 1/6 of a flower plot. And so our mystery has once again been solved, and that solution is 1/6 of a flower pot more. Don't forget your label. Mystery, you know it, bam, solved. But you know I always like to prove it, so let's go prove it. Warp speed! Whew, made it. All right, so we know that 5/6 minus 2/3 should be 1/6. Now let's prove it. What I'll do is I'll take a piece out of each garden equally until I run out of stuff in one garden, and that will tell me how much more this garden has. So I'm going to take out 1/6 from this garden, 1/6 from that garden, 1/6 from this 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 garden, and 1/6 from this garden. And that leaves just this big red flower bush. But let's check. That is 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces still planted. So that is in fact 1/6 of a flower plot. So this flower plot was planted 1/6 more than this now empty flower plot. So not only has our mystery been solved, it's been proven! Woohoo! Thank you for joining me on this episode of More on Math, Minecraft Mysteries. Feel free to subscribe, comment, or leave a question. Join me next time for another marvelous math mystery in this beautiful world of Minecraft. And remember, if you're never confused, you're never learning. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Math is fun.